welcome to 90% Native. Today I want to show you how I make my potting soil. So with my potting soil, I'm growing native plants, I'm growing vegetables and cutting flowers. So I need a potting soil that has food for the plants in that soil, because specifically my natives, they are going to stay in that soil much longer than the cutting flowers or the vegetables. How I make my potting soil is I use coconut coir, I use perlite or vermiculate, and I use a local compost called leaf grow. So it usually takes me about a day to make my potting soil, because I will do a little bit of it and then go away, do something else, and then come back to it. And especially like with the coconut coir, that has to sit in the water and rehydrate for a while too. So I'm going to take you with me out into my garage while I prep up this potting soil. Okay, this is the setup I typically use when I get started prepping my potting soil. So down here I have my coconut coir. This is a 10-pound block. Then behind it I have two 8-quart bags of perlite. Sometimes I use vermiculite. A vermiculite will keep moisture in your soil mix. Perlite won't, but it will provide a little bit of grit or fluffiness to your potting soil. And then the other ingredient I do not have here is my local compost, because it's out there in my driveway, frozen to the driveway and covered in snow. So I'll have to figure that out a little bit later, but the whole process of getting the coconut coir broken down takes a while. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. Then right here I have a 5-gallon bucket, and I have it filled about halfway with hot water. I'm going to pour this over the coconut coir, and then I'm going to try and get the coconut coir, start getting it a little bit separated. Okay, here comes the next bucket of water. As you can see, it would be seriously much easier to buy a bag of potting mix that's already made, but you're not going to get it exactly the way you want it. And you know, a lot of times there are very limited options in using coconut coir or a peat alternative, because peat moss is not a sustainable product. And you can look it up on Google, or on YouTube. Gardener's World this past year did a really good series with, I think her name is Erit, about what some of the peat bogs over there look like, and the amazing, diverse, you know, plant and animal communities that are in those bogs, and they're just, you know, being used up at an astounding rate. And in the UK, they are very, very serious about trying to use peat-free. I just keep rolling this brick over and over, because the water obviously is in the bottom of the bucket. So it just kind of keeps getting smaller and smaller. Hopefully this is my last bucket of water, and then I gotta go somehow get that compost bag off of the driveway. Okay, so now I'm gonna try and remove the compost from the driveway. I was able to get the compost with some effort. And I'm actually going to put it on top of this, the bag on top of this coconut coir, because it's a little warm and maybe I'll be able to get it to thaw a little bit faster. We'll see. Okay, so now I'm just going to let the leaf grow, defrost for a little while, let the coconut coir cool down for a little while, and when I get back, what I'll do is I will put a whole bag of perlite in with the coconut coir, not the compost yet, and mix it up. If I think that I need another bag of perlite, I'll add that in. And then I might also add some vermiculate in. And it really is just, it's not like a exact science for me. I just know approximately what I want to do and have in my potting soil. So back to getting the soil prepped. I'm going to go ahead and put the perlite in the soil. I am going to actually put in some vermiculite. I am not using the coarse vermiculite that I use to cover seed trays because I went to my local nursery and I asked for coarse vermiculite, and it is very much not coarse vermiculite. So anyway, I want to use this up in the potting mixes and save my coarse stuff for topping off seed trays. So now that I have this mixture ready, I am going to divide it equally into my 2 bins that I have over here. And I have these here on, let's see, on rolling platforms, like moving platforms that I got from Harbor Freight for like 10 bucks a pop. So super convenient to have. And I'm just gonna scoop out what we have here. This is the potting soil minus the compost. I'm gonna measure it out equally in these 2. And then because the compost is a little harder to deal with, and I will dump one back in here and put half the compost in and mix it up, and then do the same with the other. And I probably do that tomorrow because it is late. It is getting late and I'm getting tired of dealing with this. I mean, to make this potting soil is definitely worth it for my peace of mind as far as not using peat moss. Not to say I don't ever use peat moss, because when I start my vegetables, sometimes, you know, I don't have an option. I don't have enough of this because I've used it all for my native plants, but got to figure more about that later. However, just know going into it, it is a big pain in the butt. So, but it's worth it. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and divvy up this into these 2, and then I will complete the last step tomorrow. This is actually where it's really good to have these scoops. I'm going to use the 80 ounce scoop, but this is where it's really good because you can kind of evenly see what you're doing. Okay, so that's all she wrote. This is ready for the compost. Tomorrow, I'll pick the video back up then. Okay, so now I am going to mix up this compost with the coconut coir, perlite, vermiculite mix that we did the other day. Done, and I just did one bin over there. I'll do the other bin later. But I just want you to see what this looks like when it's all done. A lot darker once you add the compost and mix it all together. I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking I may add a little more perlite, but you know, you just judge for yourself based on the way it looks. Okay, I added a little more perlite in, and now I'm done. I'll put an updated recipe down in the description. So the potting soil is finally done. I had so many things go wrong the other day when I was trying to video a couple of those videos. Batteries were dying, memory cards were being filled up, compost was frozen. It was like a crap show. But anyway, the potting soil is done. I ended up using a 10-pound block of coconut coir, 16 quarts of perlite, probably 8 quarts of vermiculate, and a 1.5 cubic foot bag of leaf grow compost. And I really like that mix. The only thing I might do next time a little differently would be to add even more perlite, but we'll see what happens. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again next time.